Right, the next part is an expose. We have two tonight. And in our From Russia with Love series, we have covered many aspects of the diaspora of people known as the Jews. And much of their history has been fabricated to fit in with the Bible that they wrote. Many peoples covering their story wish to do the same for their own egos, to say they were one of the tribes or the tribe, which is pure folly given the Bible is a script designed to tell someone else's story. As more is revealed, those who claim tribe status of Israel, they will regret doing so. I have stated the reason for modern-day issues in Ethiopia is down to these same Hebrew Anunnaki clowns and their own self-importance, and this article backs that up with science. And this is what I had to say. For the purpose of this article, the author says I will mainly concentrate on the Y-DNA of the ancient tribe of Levi, who are also known as the Levites, simply because of the fact, he said, that this tribe was mainly composed of males whose priestly roles were passed down from father to son, which means they were the dark priests known as the Cohens then. Think the Sanhedrin. And he said if there were males and their priesthood males passed down their inheritance from father to son, then it makes perfect scientific sense to focus mainly on their Y DNA. And in this article, he says, I will attempt to prove my theory that the original Levites were of the E1, B1, B1C, M123 plus haplogroup. The E and M group. Wonder who that symbolises. And he said, this theory I will help substantiate by science using history, geography, the Bible, DNA, and what I call inherited gnosis, since I am also a Levite from the E1, B1, B1C, M123 plus haplogroup. And he said, what I mean by this is that these facts, history and blood are not just something I'm writing about as an outsider looking in, but that it's something that is part of my inheritance, my ancestry, and in my DNA. Now, the E haplogroup has been observed in all Jewish groups worldwide. And according to one major paper, contrasting patterns of Y chromosome variation in Ashkenazi Jewish and host non-Jewish European populations is E-M35, which defines the E1B1B1, formerly E3B1 haplogroup, and is considered to be the second highest next to J. But there was no J. For founding Jewish lineages in Europe. And it is found in moderate amounts in all Jewish populations from Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Kurdish, Yemen, Samaritan, and even among Djerba Jewish groups. And the highest variances observed in African populations. Well, I never. And the origin of E3B3 will most probably be among Cushitic or Omotic speaking populations of southwest and central Ethiopia. Except Kush came from southwest Asia, as we've covered in recent shows. Now, it has been said by some scientists that the best possible candidate for E3B Israelite ancestry among Jews is E-M123, which is quite common in many Semitic language communities, including among among both Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, accounting for over 10% of all male lines. And according to Cruciani, EM123 probably originated in the Middle East, since it is found in a large majority of the populations from that area and then migrated to Ethiopia. Well, in reality, we proved that the Jewish lineage came from the Far East, and it only turns up in the Middle East via migration. Why is it high in Ethiopia? Because they were thrown out of Jordan and Egypt, and they migrated to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the author further notes that this, quote, subclade, C-L-A-D-E, may have been spread to Europe during the Neolithic agricultural expansion out of the Middle East. However, because EM123 is also found in low percentages, 1 to 3% in many southern European and Balkan populations, its origin among Jewish groups remains uncertain. Of course, it will be uncertain. Yet the fact that both Sephardim and Ashkenazim possess this subclade in similar high frequency supports an Israelite Middle Eastern origin. No, it doesn't. And this is what I mean about trying to shoehorn information in line with the Bible. And this is where many go wrong due to that preset idea. The Ashkenazim or Ashkenazis are considered German Jews, he said, and the Sephardim Spanish Jews from Spain. Ashkenazi also originated in the Far East as well, and has got nothing to do with Germans. And he said, for the purpose of this article, I would like to focus on the founders and oldest of the Levites who were Israelites and are related to who we know as the biblical Moses. The question is, which one? Moses is a title, it's not a single person. And he said Moses was never considered a Jew. He didn't consider himself one. He was Hebrew or Israelite, according to Exodus. Actually, in truth, he was part of the cult of Ra, and so, like Solomon, related to Egypt. But what that piece confirms is there is a distinct difference between the Jews and Hebrews and the Jews and Israelites, and yet again shows more racism from this group. Now, Moses, it was said, also married an Ethiopian queen from the country of Ethiopia, which was in existence about 1,000 years before the Israelites and Jews migrated to Germany and Spain after they were banished from Israel. There was no Israel, ever. They were banished from India and many other countries. But Moses marrying an Ethiopian queen echoes the Solomon and Queen of Sheba story, does it not? So the author said, hence before there was German Ashkenazi or Spanish Sephardim Jews, there was Moses, the Levites, and Ethiopia, who were all originally Israelites thousands of years before there were ever people called Ashkenazi or Sephardim Jews. Yet again, wiping out or eradicating their own people or connections to. The Levites are recorded in the Hebrew Bible, no surprise there, as direct descendants of Aaron, Israel's first high priest, Cohen. In fact, the Cohenim are actually a special subsection of the Levites, he said, and the key to understanding the true DNA of the original tribe of Levi, and not current claims or priests who may have different DNA and or claims to be Levites. They may in fact be modern Levites, but they would not be true ancient Israelites, directly descended from Moses, and only a branch of this original DNA tree. That is the pure ego aspect. And yet again, what they're highlighting here is that one group is more special than the other, including amongst their own people. And he said the reason why this DNA is scattered and that there's much confusion surrounding its origins are the result of a combination of several factors, such as the fact that there was an exodus, yes, from India, and 106 other countries who banished them. And he said they were banished from their homeland by the Romans. They had no homeland. They were not from here. And he said many were killed and or conquered over the last 3,000 years. Therefore, a lot of their DNA has been scattered all over the world, mixed and or wiped out in many of their original homelands, plural. Another reason is because when the land of Israel was apportioned amongst the tribes in the days of Joshua, the tribe of Levi, being chosen as priests, did not receive land. However, the tribe of Levi were given cities. 6 cities were given to the tribe as refuge cities for all men of Israel, which were to be controlled by the Levites. 3 of these cities were located on each side of the Jordan River, which proves they were not in modern-day Israel, as we stated in From Russia with Love. In addition, 42 other cities and their respective open spaces, totaling 48 cities, were given to the tribe of Levi. And the great question is, who gave it to them? And why? And this article on the Samaritans, which has got nothing to do with Jewish people, I might add, despite what Wikipedia and all the other pages say, briefly explains that why there is a different DNA reporting and why some members of the priesthood have different haplogroups. Their findings reported on 4 family lineages among the Samaritans, the Tzedakah family, Tsdaka, the tribe of Manasseh, the Joshua Mahiv, and the Dan-Phi family tradition, the tribe of Ephraim, and the Cohen family tradition, the tribe of Levi. All Samaritan families were found in haplogroups J1 and J2, except the Cohen family, which was found in haplogroup E3B1A M78. And this article predated the E3B1A subclades based on the research of Cruciani. And the Samaritan Cohen family were Levites until the previous Cohen family died out around 1700. And so the fact that they don't share CMH is expected. The Cohen family died out in 1700, but the name lives on. And he said these findings may offer more proof that E1B1 was one of the founding lineages of the Levites, and the E1B1B1 haplogroup, formerly known as E3B1, nice name change again, has been observed in all Jewish groups worldwide, and it's considered to be the second most prevalent haplogroup among the Jewish population. And according to one major paper, it's also been observed in moderate numbers among individuals from Ashkenazi, Sephardic and Samaritan communities having traditions of descending from the tribe of Levi, suggesting that the E1B1B1 Levites may have existed in Israel before the diaspora of 70 CE. Now, the Samaritan community is a small, isolated and highly endogamous group, today numbering 650 members who have maintained extensive genealogical records for the past 13 to 15 generations. And since the Samaritans maintain extensive and detailed genealogical records, it is possible to construct accurate pedigrees and specific maternal and paternal lineages. Now, the Samaritan community in the Middle East survives as a distinct religious and cultural sect and constitutes one of the oldest and smallest ethnic minorities in the world. And Y chromosome studies have shown that the majority of Samaritans belong to haplogroups J1 and J2, while the Samaritan Kohanim belong to the haplogroup E3B1A. The Bible says Moses is a Levite and that he married an Ethiopian, and Moses was one of the true founders of this bloodline who had married an Ethiopian wife. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian. I guess that's not classed as racism either. But the author said if Moses was a Levite and he married an Ethiopian, it only makes perfect scientific sense that we would use modern science to research these areas and see if we can find a dominant DNA haplogroup that may have been the bloodline of Moses. After all, for the most part, Ethiopians have not been too much influenced by Western society and have kept their ancient cultures and countries intact for thousands of years. And all the while, almost every other country that are mentioned in these DNA studies have been ravaged by wars, conquests, new conquerors who have come into these same said countries, wiping out all men and boys as they rape all the women, leaving a new seed in their wombs and in these countries. What happens if this researcher finds out it was the Jewish planting their seeds to fit in with society? And he said it doesn't take a DNA rock star to figure out that we cannot rely on DNA tests. I thought you were trying to prove it before by DNA, and claims of people who have been conquered, mixed, and whose countries have exchanged DNA hands multiple times. Only an ill-informed or family agenda pushing DNA scientists would rely on such misinformation. There they go again. The minute it doesn't fit in with their story and the Bible, everyone is misinformation or anti-Semitic. But the facts now, he said, are that science backs these biblical stories up with truth, that many modern-day Ethiopians are racially connected to the EM123 haplogroup, and also religiously because they practice the same religious traditions they have kept for thousands of years. That's because they were the same people thrown out of Egypt. And the EM123 haplogroup dominates this region, which the Bible backs this up by saying this is where Moses and his people were said to have been. In fact, in future articles, he said, I will prove that the EM123 haplogroup can be found in many areas where Moses and the Israelites were reported to have been. Yes, go to India, go to Assyria, and obviously Egypt, all the gardens of Edens that they were thrown out of. And one of the highest ever recorded frequencies of EM123 is found in southernmost Ethiopia, Semian Omo zone, among the Omotic speaking Mal in their plaster thesis. And he said EM123 is best known for its major subclade EM34, which dominates this clade, and EM123, which is the dominant haplogroup of the Ethiopians. Now, the mention of clade brings up Tuesday's show again. Remember, the third simulation disaster scenario was called Clade X. Perhaps the term clade meaning brings us a clue. A group of animals or plants consisting of a shared ancestor and everything that comes from it. Is that a clue as to who really runs those simulations? Who are Clade X? The author goes on, in addition, Flores et al. 2005 found 14 of 45 men tested in the Dead Sea area of Jordan to be M34 positive. And biblically, the Dead Sea was a place for refuge for King David, where it is said clearly in the Bible, and David made him houses in the city of David, and prepared a place for the ark of God, and pitched for it a tent. Then David said, none ought to carry the ark of God but the Levites, for them hath the Lord chosen to carry the ark of God, and to minister unto him forever, the Lord being Anu. So the author says, not only do we have signs proving that EM123 is the major haplogroup of the Ethiopians, we also have the EM123 as the dominant DNA at the Dead Sea area of Jordan, which is where they went to after being thrown out of Egypt. Aman, Amun, Ra. And they said, which is the exact same place where King David and his demons took refuge and declared that none ought to carry the ark of God but the Levites. Also, indwelling in caves near the Dead Sea is recorded in the Hebrew Bible as having taken place before the Israelites came to Canaan and extensively at the time of King David. And he said, we all know who claim to have the Ark of the Covenant, the Ethiopians. They did. Therefore, he said, we can either say the science I provided in this article is just an unusual coincidence, or just luck of the draw, or we can safely say that this proves the ancient stories in the Bible of Moses with the Ethiopians and their thousands of years old religious practices and customs of these same people proves that the EM123 haplogroup is the bloodline of the tribe of Levi, or Levi. Hence, now science backs up the stories of the Bible with facts. Facts is fiction. And today we see that they now validate one another as truth, and that cannot be denied. Except it doesn't. But he is correct in stating about the, quote, Jews, unquote, in Ethiopia. And the rest of this is to fit a narrative of self-importance and elevated status, plus to fit in a book that was written by a UK Crown Agent.